Is your business in a tight spot and need to save some money? In this video, I'm going to talk you through some strategies around cutting expenses and how to stay profitable when your revenue drops and you need to shrink or go lean in order to get you through some tougher times, which happens to everyone in business. It's a roller coaster and this happens to everybody. So when I am evaluating whether we should be spending money in one of my clients' businesses, I always ask them, is spending this money creating value for our customer? Is this moving us towards our ultimate goal? And if it's not going to help us move the needle in that area, it may be superfluous and we don't really need to be committing to this. Is this a must-have or is this just a nice to have? That shiny object syndrome really happens to most entrepreneurs, and you need to evaluate through the cold, hard light of day whether this money is really creating extra value for your customer or whether, it's kind of just a nice to have and maybe we don't need to commit to that. So the first of the tips I'm going to give you is to try and avoid long-term commitments. An example with a recent client would be we were evaluating whether we need to take a long-term office lease and commit to 2 years at a certain rate. It was nice to have the space, but in the end, we went for a co-working space option, which gave us more flexibility. It's only month to month. They still got a separate part of the office and they still had that team kind of culture, but we didn't have to commit to that 2-year lease, especially if things turn down and you need to kind of cut some expenses. It's very hard to get out of a lease. So really evaluate whether you need that car lease, that office lease, and whether you can try and stay nimble and lean in the event of a downturn. So that's my first one, is to avoid long-term commitments. I'd also, when I get a new client, go through with a fine-tooth comb their recurring direct debit expenses. There's so many things hiding on credit cards, subscriptions that we've signed up to, and in the moment it sounds good, but then we don't actually use, we don't get value. So that's a really easy one and low-hanging fruit, is to look through your credit cards, see what's coming out each month and ask yourself, do I need this? Can I cancel it? And I know of people who have actually just changed their credit card completely to obviously remove all the direct debits, and then they work out who's chasing them and who needs the money, and then you can kind of reconfirm who you want to be doing business with. That's a very dramatic way to do it, but I'd at least be having a detailed look at your expenses at least once a quarter to make sure that you need them all. Also, review your current suppliers. So if there's maybe a competitor who's cheaper, has your current suppliers gotten a little bit lazy, taken you for granted, can you call them up and ask for a better deal? Obviously, you need to manage the relationship, but this is business. They understand, especially if you're going through a downturn, there might be some wiggle room there. And, the common example is for consumers calling their bank for a better rate. If you don't front up and ask them, they're not going to do anything. So make sure you look at your current suppliers as well to see that you're getting the most value out of them. And maybe there's a cheaper plan where you're still getting exactly what you need and you're not getting all the fluff that you're paying for. The next one is to try and do more with less. Maybe there's a combination of software subscriptions or suppliers that are doing the same thing in your business. Really break it down to what your core offering is, and then making sure that you're delivering that value for customer, and everything else can fall away if it's not crucial to that process. So kind of try and take that lean mindset and maybe reduce any double ups that you have in your business. The other one would be to manage your staff expenses. For, all of my agency clients, staff wages is the biggest expense in the business. So making sure that you're hiring the right people and kind of hire slow, make sure it's the right person, and then fire fast if they're not working out. So the most obvious example there is to have a probation period, at least 3 or 6 months, so you can test it out with a new team member. But most of the work should be done in the interview process and giving them tasks to do to make sure that they're the right person. So you're not wasting time and productivity on training the person who's not right for your business long-term, because there's so much work that goes into training someone up, and it's a huge productivity killer, which does hit your bottom line. It's just really hard to see it if you don't know how to look for it. So managing your staff expenses, that's it. It's a whole nother topic, but making sure you're trying to get the right people in. And a really popular and common other example at the moment is moving to a 4-day work week. And, seeing anyone who may want that extra day off to work on their own projects or to pursue other interests. Just seeing if anyone does want that kind of flexibility, that can also really reduce your wage bill as well. So that's another one. And the final tip that I'll give you is to stop expense creep into the future. So get something in your calendar quarterly, grab a coffee on Monday morning, maybe Tuesday morning, and just go through your list. Get a list of all your expense transactions off your accountant for that month or for that quarter. Look at all the vendors and have a recurring calendar invite in the diary just to make sure that you're not overpaying. Everybody likes a good deal and no one likes being ripped off. And so make sure you apply this to your own business and make sure that you're not spending any money unnecessarily. I hope these tips gave you some ideas into how to help cut expenses in your business and help you stay profitable. Thanks for watching.